psychics. They claim to move inanimate objects with hard stares, bend metal with the light stroke of a finger, and assist police in finding criminals. In 1982, James Hydrick was the world's leading psychic, and in the number 2 spot was Danny Korem.
Now, you must consider that claims of psychic powers might be deceitful or even dangerous.
Danny Korem, psychic, magician. He's hell-bent that James Hydrick is going to start a cult, just like Jim Jones, Charles Manson, and so many others.
A shocking story that I found. It begins in Salt Lake City with a self-proclaimed psychic named James Hydrick.
James Hydrick, martial arts instructor, believed by many to be the world's leading psychic. With only a 3rd grade education, James Hydrick's feats of strength are quite impressive, to say the least. He was incredibly athletic, with cat-like reflexes, and an amazing 1-inch punch with explosive power. A self-taught master, he even demonstrated the ability to fight blind man style in front of crowds. Magically turning the pages of books was his specialty. Manipulating pencils, chopsticks, even larger items like pool cues, Danny Korem was going to get to the bottom of it.
When I arrived in Salt Lake, Hydrick and his abilities were attracting extensive coverage by the local media.
Earlier this month, a 21-year-old martial arts expert now living in Salt Lake walked into the Tribune and said, "I can move objects without touching them." He then proceeded to do just that. He seemed to be able to transfer his power from one person to the next. People began writing books about James Hydrick. He was invited on television shows like Johnny Carson, and That's Incredible. James Hydrick was gaining confidence and gaining followers.
When I move a pencil, I don't think I do.
A charismatic leader like James Hydrick has the potential of starting a cult. Here, he moves the pencil even with his head turned to the side. He had convinced his students that his powers were transferable to them.
And when he does it, sometimes he'll say to touch him, and it's almost like you can feel an electricity, a force that's there that you can't quite, it's like you tingle all over if you even go to touch him.
Women, especially young mothers, were showing interest in James Hydrick. His martial arts class had grown to 300 students.
The attitude, the way the man conducted himself, and the things that he did, so I told Jimmy that he could go ahead and enroll.
Hydrick's Institute of Shaolin Kung Fu wasn't just teaching karate.
Something like a monastery to where I can bring them up to where they all have mental power.
Thousands of dollars of investing has come from this woman, Janet Schock, who adopted James Hydrick at the age of 22.
He was 22 years old.
Yes.
Did you think that might be an unusual relationship, adopting somebody that old?
Yes, but I thought of it in the light of he wanted to go somewhere and he was interested in a monastery, and I had connections in this respect, and I thought that if he has made up his mind that that's what he wants to do, then I could help him in a lot of things.
And then Danny Korem's worst fears were confirmed.
Swami Kriyananda, he has a city it's at Nevada City, California. It's known as Ananda. It's I think he has about 150 families that live there.
Determined to get to the bottom of this, Danny Korem investigated.
Yeah. I wanted him to visit because he was interested in a monastery, but he wanted a monastery where he'd have children and families and such things, and this is what Swami Kriyananda has.
Danny Korem was never going to let that happen. Danny Korem thought James Hydrick fit the personality of a cult leader, a young, charismatic person who could organize and lead a cult following. He was determined not to let that happen. The world still remembered Charles Manson and many other cult leaders, like Jim Jones and the terrible Jonestown tragedy from only 3 years before. It was reported that Hydrick could move objects from 10 feet away by using only hard stares. Experts repeatedly agreed that Hydrick's abilities were, indeed, authentic. When Danny Korem found out that Hydrick was being used by the Salt Lake City Police Department, he learned that Hydrick had done time in Los Angeles for kidnapping. In fact, Salt Lake City Police considered James Hydrick to be dangerous.
Quite athletic, and he could be quite dangerous.
Hydrick had his students convinced that they too could possess his psychic powers.
Cause the building to crack, to rotate, cause that bag to react, cause the balls to move, cause the lights to move.
They practiced day and night, while Hydrick taught them his psychic abilities.
Cause these things to start swinging, cause them to start swinging.
He was promising his followers a share of the abilities he supposedly possessed.
Do you believe that James is a fake?
He could be. It doesn't matter to me if he is or isn't.
Devotion of cult members to their leaders has led to tragedy in the past.
I don't accept the whole situation. You know, like I was in the desert minding my business.
You have to appreciate that this was 1982. The world remembered Charles Manson. It was only 3 years after the Jim Jones incident. He was a powerful speaker that led over 900 people to their demise. Sadly, there seems to be no shortage of people willing to give their lives for just a bit of a share of someone else's perceived power.
Allowing the mind to overpower the body. The mind wills and the body behaves.
Korem had reason to believe that James Hydrick could become a cult leader.
And you can tear up about 15, 20 people at one time with these. And because of the holes are in them, it makes it so where
It moves
move
quickly.
faster.
No resistance.
Yeah.
I asked Hydrick if I could film him for a program dealing with alleged psychics. Although he agreed, I remained cautious.
And we have outside and inside training quarters. And what I'll do is, without my students even knowing it, I will take them downtown and have them attacked.
Now widely considered the world's best psychic, Hydrick builds his own monastery and teaches thousands of kids his psychic abilities through martial arts training. Lethal power. Danny Korem knew he had to approach this delicately. Hydrick was now transferring his powers to his followers. Over the next few days, he and James Hydrick went over the magic tricks and psychic abilities Hydrick appeared to be able to perform.
Build a rotate at will on the head of a pin, even though it is sealed off from air currents and threads by a glass fish tank.
Korem now studies every move of James Hydrick, and he's supremely qualified to do it. Danny Korem is a 20-year veteran magician, self-proclaimed psychic, and expert in the field of illusions. If anyone can spot the discrepancies in James Hydrick's work, it's Danny Korem.
You have a $5 bill? There's nothing else in this. By the way, I pulled back my sleeves so you would know there's nothing up my sleeves, right?
Certainly.
You fold the bill in half once like this. You fold it in half again like this. Fold it in half again one more time. Now don't take your eyes off the 5. Lisa, I'll make you laugh. I'll make you cry. You've just kissed $4. Goodbye.
Most people think I deceive them because my hands are quicker than the eye. Here you can see the same trick but in slow motion. And it is still impossible to perceive how the trick is done. The principles of our craft have become so sophisticated that if Houdini were alive today, he too would be fooled by the tricks of the modern-day magician.
Korem wrote the book, The Fakers, and teaches a university-level class where he attempts to debunk modern psychics and magicians. This clip is from his university class. He asked 5 people to join him on stage. Then 4 of them will write on a piece of paper the name of someone they know. Danny Korem has never met any of these people
Now wait
before.
until my back is turned before you begin writing on your slips of paper, and then fold your slip of paper after you've written the name.
The names are then folded, mixed, and handed to the person on the end.
The woman standing
About
next to
96, you are
Korem is a registered nurse,
Okay, this was not
taking
prearranged.
his pulse.
Correct? Now, what I'd like you to do, ma'am, no, continue holding my pulse, is I'd like you to take up one of the slips of paper and hold it up to your forehead. Okay? If you notice any change in my pulse, let me know immediately. How's my pulse?
Fine.
Is it faster or slower?
It's the regular pulse.
About the same rate?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Would you please put that piece of paper down and pick up another one? How's my pulse?
It's the same.
It's not slowed down at all?
No.
All right, put that one down, pick up another one. How's my pulse?
Fine. The same.
Without warning, Korem's pulse stops.
It stopped.
I'm sorry?
It stopped. I have no pulse.
My pulse has stopped?
Yeah.
There is no pulse? You're holding the name of the deceased. Let me have it. Do not open it. Hold it pressed tightly against your head. I want you to look at me. This was a gentleman, wasn't it, that you knew very well? It was a friend, and his name is Bruce Prather.
Yes.
Frightening, isn't it? How many here, after seeing this last demonstration, might believe that I have some kind of a psychic power? Let me see a show of hands, please. Everything that you saw this evening, everything was a trick.
James Hydrick was still dazzling with his tricks and psychic abilities. Tugging and pulling away at the pages was Hydrick. Bobby Korem worked tirelessly to try to figure out the answers.
I believed Hydrick used a refined technique of exhaling puffs of air which caused the pencil to rotate. To accomplish this, the pencil must first be balanced on the edge of the table. Then, a puff of air is exhaled, not at the pencil, but at the table's surface. The air currents moving along the surface contact the delicately balanced pencil. To spin the pencil in the opposite direction, a puff of air is directed at the other end of the pencil.
Trying to learn Hydrick's head turn trick was difficult, to say the least.
With proper timing, I believe the head could be turned before the air currents reach the pencil.
With practice, Danny Korem was able to do the trick. But what about the page turning?
If you release the puff of air at the tabletop, a page with an upturned edge flips over. I also experimented with a method where air currents were not involved.
Here, Bobby Korem uses actual magic to turn the page. After months of being bested by the world-renowned psychic, Bobby Korem finally spotted something in James Hydrick's dollar bill routine.
My immediate thought was that Hydrick used a cleverly concealed device, but after examining the props, I ruled this out. I noticed, however, that the bill only revolved when Hydrick was at one end of the tank, so I had one of my crew divert Hydrick out of the room. As I anticipated, my airline ticket and credit card easily slid unhindered beneath the tank's edge.
A little crack under the glass. That's what Hydrick was using. He was blowing on the table under the crack of the aquarium glass.
Most fish tanks, due to imperfections, will not meet a table flush on all edges. Thus, the seal is imperfect.
Korem noticed that a breath of air directed at the table under one of the little cracks was enough to set the dollar bill in motion.
Few magicians have ever taken such a simple and obvious principle and yet made it so deceptive.
The final showdown was to take place in Salt Lake City. Both Hydrick and Bobby. What's your name, Bobby? Bobby and Bobby. They both had something to say about the regulations. You see, what happened was, now, Bobby didn't want to have a just straight up filming, no. He wanted to put some special little microphones down in there to check if Hydrick was blowing little breaths of air. He was supposed to be doing real magic up in there. The next day, Korem and Hydrick continued to argue over regulations and microphones.
His previous restrictions.
Okay.
I told the sound technician to
most of my
inform us that the
performances
mic
I've done-
levels had to be turned down due to feedback.
We had a problem with the audio. We'll have to do it over again.
All right.
Unbeknownst to Hydrick,
Okay, now just point at
Korem blew on the pencil first. Hydrick didn't know what to make of it. It all came down to this: the dollar bill trick. Korem had spent months trying to figure it out, and now here they were in Salt Lake City for the final showdown.
The glass is so
Korem
hard to
stayed
work
quiet.
with sometimes.
How about
He didn't
how
let
about if we
on
turn
that
it?
he knew the trick.
Would that help you?
Yeah.
You turn it a little
It
bit.
doesn't matter, it's still.
Hydrick was now able to perform the trick, so he passed his power on to Korem again.
Try and get it to go back the
When
other way.
Korem was able to perform the trick, Hydrick was bewildered.
We already done it twice.
No, but just this ain't right. Something's not right.
What?
I don't know.
It's gonna look right. It's gonna look good from here.
Cut off film. No, do you think that we're going to do something with it?
I don't want to do it. I don't. Forget the part about it.
Explodes.
God.
Stop the air conditioning.
This makes me mad. Brainwash people. I could have went two ways, good or bad.
Bobby Korem saw things. No one knew if Hydrick was going to choose good or bad. No one knew what the end result was ultimately going to be. So Korem, Hydrick, and family friends with professionals decided
The real legend of
Hydrick's
James
best
Hydrick
foot forward.
Isn't the legend that we've seen on TV and that we've read a lot about. But there really is a legend here, and it's perhaps even more bizarre and unusual than we knew. Tell us, James, who you really are.
Well, a lot I don't remember because, you know, I've suffered a lot of head injury. That I'd close my eyes and I'd picture myself being in a big, huge house or mansion, monastery in China somewhere. And it seems like something like astral projection. It seems like I was actually there. And I could actually physically hear things taking place. When I go into this thing, I'd hear a dong, and then when I'd appear, everybody would bow to me, and I'd be welcome to come in.
He tells of a secret Chinese mentor that taught him secret powers.
That's where I met Master Wu. I've never seen a Chinese man before, so I looked, and there's this little old Chinese man, about 5'4". He would say, he says, "To you, in my eyes, I see a strange animal in a new land. Come with me and teach you I will of this jungle."
You started a fantasy world of your own.
I'd think about going to the moon. You ever seen those little ping pong balls? take two of those things, stick them in my mouth, and tie my head, laying my head down, and I would imagine rolling and going up to the moon. And by the time I got back, the beating's over. I mean, I'm cut up real bad, but...
Korem discusses James Hydrick's childhood with his family.
Mary got mad at him one day. They done something they wasn't supposed to. So, Mary tied him out in the yard to the tree. Well, it happened to be the same damn tree the dog was tied to. So when it come supper time, Mary wouldn't feed him. So Billy come home. He said, well, what'd they do? Mary said they misbehaved, and I just tied them out there. And let me tell you something, my kids don't forget that.
We couldn't eat in the house because we were dogs. We were her pet dogs. In fact, my name was Spot, because I had chicken pops. They used to call me Spot, and they wouldn't let Spot in the house.
James said that they called him Spot because they wouldn't feed him inside, they'd feed him outside. Is that true?
That's true.
She took a brick-rat paddle, and the end that you hold in your hand, she took it and put it up his rectum.
Beat on that young'un? No.
I was working these honky-tonks as a bouncer. So I bounced for 12 or 15 years.
What was the one thing that you can remember the most about James?
Well, when I was working them honky-tonks and couldn't get nobody to stay with him, I kept him in the car there a lot of times.
He'd stay in the car while you went to work?
Sleep at night?
Sleep back there, had a station wagon.
At the age of 9, he was committed to the Witten Center, an institution for the mentally retarded.
I went to Witten Village and talked with him.
That's another point I wanted to ask you. What was he doing? Why was he at Witten Village? He wasn't retarded, was he?
No, he wasn't retarded, and the welfare people done that on their own. I didn't have nothing to do with it.
Why did they do that?
Well, they said they couldn't handle him. He was too active. Well, they said they had to give him some tranquilizers to calm him down.
Tragically, at the age of 9, Hydrick was deemed mentally retarded by the Witten Center social worker.
One time, Witten Center was not only an institution for the mentally retarded, but also took children who, there is no place for emotionally disturbed children in South Carolina as such, or was not at that time, and so they were then taken to the institutions for the mentally retarded, and that's probably how James got here.
Danny Korem thought James Hydrick was starting a cult with a 3rd grade education and a misdiagnosis.
I think James' history will show you that a lot of...
Did you consider him dangerous?
Any of these young fellas can be dangerous when they start off and they come out of a broken home and they have no schooling and they're on their own, and it becomes sometimes where these young fellas want a macho image and they get themselves involved. And sometimes the police not understanding these things in the dead of night, he can become dangerous. And if he strikes out and it goes, anybody can be dangerous under those situations. I just think that he's no different from any other young man. And like adults, if there's a lack of love shown and you're not wanted, you strike out. And I think in this case, this is what's happened with this young man. He never had anybody that really showed him any love.
Is there anything you'd say to him, like, son, you know, I'm sorry, maybe I could have done something else, or anything like that, any feeling?
I want to apologize to you. I love you. I think you know that. Yeah.
At age 17, Hydrick hitchhikes to California.
The first time I saw him, he was wearing sort of a Batman uniform or something of the sort with a flowing cape, and he usually wore something like that to attract attention, to make him a little bit different.
Danny Korem interviews everyone in James Hydrick's life.
Chester, he sent you a letter. What did it say in the letter?
But one of them was that he was doing some movies as a star of Kung Fu. He was the new Bruce Lee.
truth was, most of Hydrick's stories came from prison, where he met Sirhan Sirhan, the leader of a famous cult.
Why did you feel that you had to tell them that you had powers that you didn't have?
I don't know. I wanted to do that because it was different. And I just wanted to see how open-minded people were. I wanted to see if these people were so-called intelligent and I was so-called dumb. I mean, surely I'm here for a reason. My whole idea behind this in the first place was to see how dumb America was, how dumb the world is.
For God's sake, let's get on with it. We've lived as no other people have lived and loved. We've had as much of this world as you're going to get. Let's just be done with it.